Welcome to episode 3 of the Empowered Effect. Today's episode comes with a trigger warning. There are mentions of child abuse, so if you find this subject sensitive, then feel free to skip this episode. Today's guest is Frances Bentley, a hugely inspirational woman that had a very difficult start in life but has gone on to thrive and help other people. Her story is one of resilience and courage, and I loved speaking with her and getting to know her story. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Welcome to the Empowered Effect. I am so happy to have you here with me today. We've just had some headshots done.
Yes.
Some author headshots.
Yes.
Because you're releasing a book, but we'll get to that possibly at the end.
Okay.
Firstly, introduce yourself to my audience.
No, lovely to be here. I'm an author and transformational coach. I've been doing this for 3 decades now in different guises, and energy healer, a breathwork coach. And what I love working, I work with mainly women.
Okay.
And I love to empower them because, you know, as you get older and you get judged and you judge yourself and comparison, you start thinking that you're not as beautiful as you was in your 30s or your 20s. And I think every decade you gain something else that just enriches your life.
Yeah.
So in your 20s and 30s, you're different to say, like now, me in my 60s, but I feel as sexy as ever.
That's
I
great.
feel great.
Good.
And that's because I feel good inside. I've worked on myself. I've sort of dealt with my trauma and you manage it and learning skills to manage it. And that's what I love, helping people on that journey to be their authentic self.
I think because sometimes as we become older and are of a different generation,
Yes.
we maybe can't turn to a mother or someone that can guide us
Yes.
through the transition of middle age.
Absolutely.
You know, so I truly believe that if you are struggling, you should reach out to someone that can help you, because there is help.
Yeah.
There is help out there.
Yes, yeah.
And coaches have the knowledge to hold your hand through a transition, because that
Yes.
transition can be very hard.
Yes, yes.
Tell me a little bit about the forms of therapy. So maybe my audience don't know what breathwork is, or what other treatments do you offer?
Well, what I do is that when somebody books me, we have the first one is a conversation.
Yeah.
And I find out while I'm talking to you what you need. So I am a shamanic healer, Reiki master, tantric practitioner, teacher, a clinical breathwork coach. So all of these different modalities, meditation, gratitude, all of these that I work with, alongside I do tapping, past, present, future encoding, and all of these, the different ways that I can work with you to get you from where you are to where you want to be.
Yes.
And can bring in these, say, the modalities or the different practices that you can actually then take out into your daily life.
I'm going to call it a toolbox.
Yes.
Let's call it a toolbox, because as we change, as your kids get older, as you change as a person, and maybe life can hand you some difficulties.
Yes.
You need to tap into a toolbox that can help you through.
Yes. Yeah.
I've had a particularly tough 3 weeks,
Yes.
and I've really tapped into
Yeah.
meditation.
Yeah.
And gratitude and grounding and making sure that my self-care is on point, because those are the things that get me through. But of course, you weren't always a coach.
No.
And you've got quite a huge story to share.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you're willing to be on this sofa and share that with me, because it's a big story. So maybe you can share with my audience a little bit about your childhood and your background, and maybe what led you to be a coach.
Yes. I think if I go back to what I was born into, I was born to a very, very violent father. And I was always led to believe that I was the first battered baby ever publicised in England. And I'd always known this, through conversation with the family. I can't ever remember being sat down and told. I just knew. He did horrendous things. Bit of a trigger warning on here. It is about child abuse, so I don't want, sort of anybody to get triggered. So I won't go too deep into it.
Yes.
But he did horrendous things. And I always had this feeling inside growing up that was more to life. I mean, my childhood, we had to go in hiding into a hostel for 6 months, a Salvation Army hostel. So when you're born into that level of trauma, it's your reality. I thought all dads beat their kids. I thought all dads did things like that to their children. So I was a happy child in an unhappy world. And as you get older, that's what's drives survival. Fear is just driving in your unconscious mind. It's driving every action, every thought that comes into your mind. It's driving the person you are. So relationships, I wouldn't be happy with men until I've destroyed the relationship. Because the first man you're ever supposed to trust has broken that trust.
Yes.
Then you only feel safe in a bad relationship. So if I can destroy that relationship, all men are the same. So, but then growing up, I just knew there was more to life. And I was thankfully always optimistic. And then at about 20, I went off travelling. I remember saying to my mum, is this it for the rest of my life? I've got a lovely boyfriend, my own flat, and I'll get married. I even said, nobody will even know I had my own flat. But I did. I went off travelling for 7 years and it was great.
Where did you go?
I went to Channel Islands initially. And then I went and spent a couple of years in France and learnt to speak French, which was amazing, with a great Brummie accent, Bonjour, our kid. But I love France.
Oh.
And then I left there and went off to Cyprus. I was in Paphos for about 18 months.
Oh, wow.
And it was amazing. I used to drive a tractor and work in the bean field and all that. It was great.
My granddad had a tractor.
Oh, did he?
Yes, from Cyprus.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And then I left there and went to Spain. I worked in Gibraltar and lived in Spain for about another good couple of years. And it was lovely because I always intended to get to Australia where I had family, but it didn't work out. But what was great, I got to learn and empathise with other cultures and their languages. So it really enriched my life.
Yeah.
But I came back with a bit more than I bargained for, and she's 33 now.
Oh.
It's a whole nother story. And I remember then, I was sleeping on the floor at the YMCA. I was 4 months pregnant. I had 37p to my name. But I remember making a plan that my daughter would never suffer coming from a single parent. And something sort of changed in me that I got to understand. It started me on that journey then of understanding the mind and wanting to do better and all of this. So thankfully, I did achieve what was on my list within 6 years.
Amazing.
And Jessica is my absolute life, and we've grown up together. I've even had conversations with her in the past. I said, look, when I gave birth to you, I was still in trauma response.
Yes.
So when she was pregnant with Oakley, my grandson, I said to her, what could I have done better? And she was a bit protective at first. And I said, no, I can then be a better grandmother. You can be a better mom. What didn't work? And then I phoned her one day. I went, oh my God, I read a people pleaser. She'd no, mum, and all this.
Yeah.
But having conversation for me has been my way of healing.
Yes.
It's been my way of educating myself.
Yeah.
And moving forward in life. So for me, it's talking all the time. It's don't hold things in because they're going to do damage.
Yes.
It's staying in your body.
I can relate to that. When you hold trauma, and I'm a talker.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people choose to hold it in.
Yes.
And that creates illness in the body.
Yes. Yeah.
I've always been a talker. I've had counselling and therapy from the age of, I think, 18, 19. I always knew that the things I felt, I needed to stay out.
Yes, yes.
So from that, how have we connected the dots to then becoming a healer to other people.
Yeah.
And how has that trauma helped you to go on into this career where you help other people, which is amazing?
I think at first, 30 odd years ago, I was looking for something, and I found a Buddhist temple just outside of Edgware. And I'd always been in my family. When I look back at the history, there was healers and readers, and so it goes right back to my Welsh ancestry. It's there.
Okay.
And I went to this Buddhist temple and learnt to meditate. And as I learnt one thing, another thing came up. So these opportunities just kept on coming. And that was my healing process. But I think this last bit, I've had a massive shift in the last 18 months. Somebody said to me when I was, again, started writing the book, they said, do you think it'd be cathartic? And I said, no, I've done 30 years work on myself. You know, it's the icing on top of the cake. Little did I realise the juggernaut that was coming towards me at 100 miles an hour.
Tell me about that writing
Well, I
process.
was writing the book and I'd written it down. I met this amazing lady, Penny Ferguson, at a networking event in London.
Okay.
And I was telling her about my book, and she said, would you like me to read the manuscript? And she said, I've published some books before. And I said, yeah, and we really clicked. We got on really well. So I sent her my first manuscript, and a bit later she called me. I went up to Newbury and went for lunch. And every time I say this, she said, "Those amazing big strawberries. They were beautiful. We had this lovely lunch."
Strawberries
Why
are
the
on trend.
strawberry? Yeah, on Monday,
Strawberries are on
are
trend at the moment. I see them all over TikTok.
Oh, they were gorgeous, these strawberries. And she said to me, Frances, your book's not good enough.
Oh.
Yes. And she said, and I don't like your mum in the book.
Wow.
I know.
How did that feel?
I feel blessed that I met her. I feel blessed that I walked into her home, that she welcomed me. We're really, really good friends now. She said, what you went through as a child was horrendous. And the words you are using just don't work.
Yeah.
And why would your mum stay with somebody that did such horrendous things to you?
Yes.
And I could see where she was coming from.
Yes.
But then I realised I was still holding trauma and protecting myself with the words I was using. Even the words when I told somebody else about what happened to me, I didn't want to hurt them. So the words were very gentle. So then I had to change the words and how I spoke to myself about it, which then I started to remember things that my dad had done that I hadn't remembered before, because I was changing the conversation with myself. So healing, so wonderful. I now sit here with a peace inside me that I've never known in my life. And it's been the people like Penny and Gabriel, who's a walking coach, Gabriel Feather, she's amazing. And she's been my copy editor, and she's really drawn things out of me. And the whole process has been amazing.
I'm so excited to read
So
it.
amazing.
I know that you haven't shared the gritty details.
Yes.
Are the gritty details in the book?
Yes, a lot of them. But then also what happened is my auntie's youngest daughter contacted me, and she said, I see you've written a book. And I said, yes. And she said, your auntie wrote a book. And she said, it documents what happened to you, what your dad did to you, and also what your dad did to your mum and his sister.
Oh, wow.
And it was like reading a horror movie. It's awful. It's awful.
And he never got arrested for any
No,
of those
he died.
things?
It went to Crown Court. My case went to Crown Court, and the injuries were so severe that the doctor said it couldn't have been inflicted by dropping you or anything. You were either thrown against a wall or kicked around like a football. It's horrendous, this book. So reading it and seeing it, I know my dad was that type of person. I mean, you always think somebody that beats their kids up and their wife is a bit wimpy and there's that stereotype that they won't stand up again. My dad was a street fighter. My dad could handle himself with anyone. And if anybody else ever touched us, they would be held back. He intimidated people all his life. He had that instinct. But what he did behind closed doors was okay. Yeah. So when you're dealing with that trauma, and this is the path I am on with my coaching, is I'm not what somebody else did to me.
Absolutely.
No, I'm not. Yes, what was done to me was awful, and to now turn it into this positive workbook that I can give back to other people.
I honestly
My
can't wait to
heart
read
could
it.
burst. I'm like so happy. But my own healing journey to hear where I am now, 18 months ago, I couldn't envision. I thought I was all right, and I was. But oh my God, when you really dig deep, really get into those nooks and crannies of your soul, and you address it and you release it and you let it go, the peace inside is just,
I can relate. I
yeah,
probably can't relate to the trauma you've suffered.
yeah,
However, I do know that the difficulties I've been through as a teenager, as a young 20-year-old, have really shaped me. At
yes,
the time, they were traumatic, and I thought that I couldn't get through those times. But they really are the person I am today.
yes,
And I love that I can go on to help people through talking or Instagram.
absolutely,
And I can't really explain the feeling that you get when you know that another person has benefited so they don't have to go through that, and you're giving them strength. It gives me such joy.
yes.
And that feeling is better than any Chanel bag.
Do you know, it really is. I love a Chanel bag.
Oh, we do. We love this.
I love my material things as well.
Yeah, and we like to
but
have
they're
nice
nothing
things.
without a true connection to yourself.
Absolutely.
If a Chanel bag is covering up for something that's
Yes.
going on inside,
Yes.
it's not worth it.
Yes.
But if you feel
Yes.
really good and you feel, and you're in a position, whether it's a Chanel bag or something from another shop, as long as you love it,
Yes.
and you can wear it and think, oh, I feel really good in that,
Yes.
then it doesn't need a label. It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And it's choosing yourself every day. You know, we have a wardrobe and we look at the clothes we want to put in our wardrobe, and we choose clothes that represent our style, the way we are. We even do it with jewellery, the jewellery that we want to wear, and all of this. It's all a representation of ourselves.
Yes.
But we don't give enough thought to the thoughts we attach ourselves. If you think of your head as a wardrobe, but you only put the thoughts that you want in that wardrobe and you let the other ones pass, then you're being your more authentic self. You don't have to attach yourself to every thought that comes into your head.
Yes.
You don't have to.
Yes.
Because I did a talk a while ago. There was a lot of women. I used to have pink hair at the time. And on the posters, it was a woman with pink hair. But these women were so invested in saying not so nice things about themselves, they didn't even see me. So when I went on the stage, I read off about 10 things that I'd heard. And they're all go, oh. And I went, ladies, that's everything. That all of those are what's been said in this room in the last half an hour. It's what you've said about yourself. I said to ladies, I think we've got some work to do.
Yes.
And we move forward.
It's really important for me that women speak to themselves nicely, but also about others.
Yeah.
I think the truth is that we can be quite mean to one another, and we should learn to support each other.
It's a choice.
Yes.
And when you get up, you choose how you're going to interact on that day. Every morning I get up, I choose love.
Me too.
Absolutely. Whether that sounds corny to people, I think my body fights for me 24/7. I've put a bit of weight on. I'm not what I was in my 20s and 30s look-wise, but I love me.
Good.
While I'm asleep, my body's fighting to keep me healthy and you know, it's gratitude for everything that I have. Gratitude I got up this morning. You know,
we can choose.
We can choose.
We can choose to love or hate,
Yeah.
and choose jealousy over gratitude,
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about if someone feels like they've got a book in them, what advice would you give to someone that wanted to write a book, for example?
Firstly, get it down on paper.
Yeah.
Write it down on paper. That's the first thing is start. It's the best advice I ever got, because we get into our own way and we don't do things.
How did you find time to do that? Was you quite disciplined? talk me through the process. How often would you write?
I mean, it's different for different.
I would love to write a book, but I don't know where I'd find the time.
It's surprising, and what I'm actually, because so many people have asked me how to do it, I'm actually it's going out soon, a coaching course to write a book.
Okay.
And I've brought in publishing companies and all the people and all the things that I've got and that have helped me, I'm bringing to the table to help other people.
She's got everything up her sleeve. I love it, because I'm the same.
Yeah. And I just think, if I had that when I first said,
yes,
I had all of the procrastination or the things you do to stop yourself doing it.
I think it takes an amount of discipline.
It does take an amount of discipline.
The want.
Yes.
The want.
Yeah.
The passion that drives the want to get it out there.
Yeah. And I'd have it there, and I wrote it out, and then I had my readers, and I chose the right readers, and I had all that done, and I went in there and I'd set the space, I'd make sure that I'd calm my nervous system down, I'd relax, I'd do. So even if it's only, if you've got half an hour a day and you write for half an hour a day, eventually you'll have your book. If you want to lock yourself away for 3 months, as some people do, and write a book, it's whatever is right for you. Right. But it's starting.
You've just got to start.
Just got to start.
I feel like lots of people say to me, oh my gosh, Tia, I decided in, I think, late January that I was going to start a podcast.
Yes.
And it's already up.
Yeah.
And I'm a person that if I get an idea, I don't think about the perfection of it.
Yes.
I just do it.
Let's just do it.
I just do it because I know that messy action will create the perfection that I want eventually. It doesn't have to start perfect. I'm a doer.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I think women get stuck on how do I get from here to 100. Mm-hmm. Start at 1.
Yes.
And then 2.
Yes.
And then 3.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, step by step. So tell us, when the book's going to be released, how can people find it? How can people find you?
Yes. My website's francisbentley.com.
Yep.
So you can go on to that. The book will be live on Amazon in about 3 weeks' time. I'm just waiting for the and reason it's sort of not out there now, and I've done these pre-launches, is because the other book came and all the journey's been so amazing that even though I haven't put stuff in this book from the one my auntie wrote, it's made me look at my book differently and maybe explain more about my mum. And because when you're in a trauma to that level where it's only getting through an hour at a time, and when it feels safer to stay than to leave, people like my dad choose people like my mum. She was 16, and they get into their brain and they just, it's just all consuming for them. So I think if you're in a situation moving forward in life, whether you've got really valuable lessons, it's going to help someone. Yes. If you feel that you want to write that book, then start.
Yeah.
And just get it out there, because even if it's never published, it's cleansing your soul.
Yeah.
And it's releasing trauma from you, just the action of writing it down.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for anyone that has been through a similar experience as you and is feeling a little stuck? Maybe they don't want to write a book. What advice would you give them?
I would reach out. Because I literally, about a month ago, for the first time, reported historical child abuse to the police. And I felt a bit, God, it was so long ago, my dad's dead, and all this. But the police listened.
Oh.
And then they sent an officer out to me, who sat with me for about an hour and told me all about how they deal with those sort of cases now. And when he left, what that did for me, it was the first time the authorities had listened and were on my side, not keep on sending me back to that constant abuse and that environment. So it's get out there and talk, because it is different from 60 years ago. It is, people are there to listen.
Yeah.
And if somebody's abused you to a level like that, they want to keep you trapped. They don't want you to talk. They want to keep you small. But you reach out, it's amazing. Once you say, no, I'm worth more than this, because you are.
Yes.
That once you start making a step, there is assistance, there's people there to help you, definitely.
So maybe at the bottom of this, maybe we can put some maybe places that people can call,
Yes.
if there's some charities you
Yes.
know of that we can put
Yes.
at the bottom.
And I'm just updating the website with the book and the photographs and everything that we've got. And on my website, there will be some free material for you to download.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and there will be contacts. They're all going, that are in the book are going on the website. It's just been all updated now.
You are a powerhouse. She's a coach. She's an author. She also runs networking groups. We never spoke about that, but she does.
Yes, yeah.
You are just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
I feel so blessed
No.
to have photographed you today for your book. It always gives me such joy to photograph authors for their books.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge deal to have a book. It means that you're a thought leader.
Yes.
It's in print.
Yes.
It's such an amazing thing. That book will be in publication forever. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me here and making me
sweet.
feel so comfortable. It's lovely.
Thank you for listening to episode 3. Frances' story is a testament that if you have a difficult start in life, it doesn't have to define you. I loved hearing about her resilience and strength and not allowing her past to dictate her future. Please do subscribe, follow and share with a friend. And if you feel like you've got a story, then please do get in touch.